The idea of taking sand, melting it into a clear liquid, and then shaping it while it's 2,000 degrees, it's a pretty wild concept.
It's fascinating to me to see something that I may intellectually understand how they do it, how they put it together, but I could never in the world pull it off myself, and I think a lot of people have that experience.
You can't be out in nature and just see the seasons evolving without getting ideas. And with glass blowing, what you're trying to do is interpret that, take what you see in nature and put it in a piece of glass. And the steps it takes to get there is the exciting part about it. Before I got into glass blowing, I wanted to be a painter, and went to college to study painting primarily, and that's when I took the glass blowing course and just fell in love with it. But my love of colors is what really got me into painting, and I tried to transfer that love of color into the glass blowing field. And it's very similar. I mean, so basically what I'm trying to do is to paint in an impressionistic way and using 2,000 degree molten sand rather than paints. I'm setting up my color palette the same way a painter would set up his colors to get ready to paint a picture. The glass blowing, I'm really blowing or painting with molten glass, which begins as sand, but the colors are laid on in a certain order to get the effect that I'm going for. Developing a new idea takes a long time because you have to experiment a lot with the colors, and sometimes the colors don't want to be together and the piece will crack. That's incompatibility is a big problem that has to be gotten around if you're going to successfully make a piece of glass. In order to make a form on a piece of glass, even something as simple as a round bubble, the first thing you do is preheat your blowpipe so that you can actually, the hot glass will stick to the end of the pipe. Then you take a gather of the clear glass on the end of the blowpipe, shape it into a uniform shape, whether it be totally round or egg-shaped. Then you begin blowing your bubble. As you're spinning to keep it on center, because it is a moving mass, you blow gently until you get a uniform thinness on the bubble. If it gets too cool, you have to go back and reheat into the glory hole. Then you go back to the bench and you shape again, blow a little bit more, go back and reheat, come back to the bench, using the steel jacks to cut the neckline down, and you go back and forth between the glory hole and the bench, shaping and blowing as long as necessary to get the form you want. My forearms are a little tight. Now, glass blowing is probably one of the most physically demanding crafts that you'll ever do. Once you start the piece, you can't take a break. You have to go until it's finished. That's why there's so many blowing teams, especially the guys who are trying to do the large pieces. It's just not possible for one person to physically pull it off. Even a piece like this, which would be considered, for me, large, but just enough for one person. Much more than that, and I would have to have some assistance. Once you've achieved that form, then you have to cool it down slowly. So if you're going to do an open vessel, you have to transfer that bubble to a solid punty. and transfer it from the blowpipe, reheats the top of the bubble, and open it into a bowl or whatever form you want. Right now, the gather I just took out of the furnace is right at 2,000 degrees. And it's the heat that actually allows me to use the newspaper without getting burned. It's so hot it creates steam with the wet paper and immediately carries it away from the pan. Then you have to tap it off. And put it into a annealing oven, which runs at 925 to 950, and cool it down no faster than 100 degrees per hour. After you've done that, then you've completed your piece of glass. All right. That was a good one. Fought me a little bit, but I got it back under control. That's the sign of a true craftsman, I think, is how many you can save, not how well you can pull them off from the beginning.
The idea of taking sand and soda and chemicals and cooking it up in some sort of exotic recipe, but very precise, and coming up with something so pure and beautiful as molten and then crystallized glass is just a notion that has fascinated all of us over centuries and continues to. And I think that sort of freedom has a great deal to do with the really spectacular and revolutionary forms you see contemporary glass workers making.
These are the guys that I made yesterday. They've been in the annealer overnight. We got to bring them down very slowly, especially a thick one like this, and I really, really like what's happening here. I did a great job, I think. I really think I did. So I'm happy with the results on this one. It won't last long for sure. We'll see what else we have in there. Right, this is part of the Rainforest series here. The shape didn't come out the way I wanted it to. The design is beautiful. I was going more for a classic form. The piece didn't want to be classic, so it's more contemporary. And today I'm going to make a lid to put on it, and that'll be a beautiful piece. Glass, if it were a person, would be, well, I think an animal, perhaps a chameleon or something like that. The thing about glass is it opens itself up to any suggestion. It's perhaps you could even say it's like a child, in the sense that you lead it. You can lead it so far in one direction or another, and it will let you know when it's gone far enough that direction. So you can coax glass. You can make friends with it. You can't make it angry. You make the glass gods angry, and you might as well turn off the furnace and quit for the day, because it truly, truly is the type of thing that you have to communicate with it, and you have to be gentle with it. You have to be patient with it. You can't get angry at it. I mean, it's just there for you to work with if you treat it nicely.
You're really an engineer and an inventor and a designer and all these other things rolled into the process of working with glass, in addition to being an artist. Just to master the technical aspects of it, I think, is a huge achievement and a wonderful challenge.
So far, so good. We'll see. When you do big ones like this, they can change on you real fast.
They're trying to move, keep it hot, keep it on center. I don't know if you caught a while ago when it was getting all out of form and it dropped. I mean, it was getting off center and they had to correct quickly. They're fighting time.
But I still have my brushes and my drawing pencils and drawing pads, and I'll never get rid of them because one of these days I'm going to be too old and tired to blow glass. And I don't think the creative spirit will ever die in me until I die. I mean, since I was a child, I wanted to be an artist. And right now, I happen to be a glass blower. Who knows what I'll be 20 years from now.
Didn't think that was going to make it, but it's going to turn out to be a good piece. And you know what? I think I'm done for the day. It's been a good session.